As Morse lay in bed, his thoughts were grim. Bella's words from earlier echoed in his head. How do you know we're safe? What if something happens? Try as he might, Morse could come up with no better answer than he'd offered her then. He couldn't be sure that they were safe. And if something did happen, what would he do? What could he do? That was the question that pounded against the inside of his skull. Even as he drew nearer to sleep, that question was at the forefront of his mind, and it bled into his waking daydreams. He pictured the village square as he saw it from the front door of Wendell's shop. The green ahead, the bakery off to the right, the main road winding off to the left. It was daytime, and the weather was unimportant. He saw Bella standing on the green, waving to him. Then, the enemy arrived. Pouring out of the woods, a troop of soldiers in strange gray armor covered in twisting spikes rushed towards Bella. Morse rushed towards her as well. Suddenly, there was a sword in his hand. Just as one of the faceless foes was about to grab Bella's arm, Morse swung his sword in a wide arc, cleaving the foe in two. There was no blood. Morse didn't care to imagine the viscera, but the soldier fell to the ground in 2 pieces. Morse whirled and faced down the 3, that was simpler, 3 more soldiers surrounding him. They attacked all at once, but Morse wielded his sword deftly, deflecting their blows with techniques his mind couldn't quite picture clearly. Having disarmed each assailant, Morse thrust his own weapon forward, running through all 3 of them on the length of his blade. In his bed, Morse smiled thinly. In his imagination, Bella embraced him, kissing him gratefully. Morse rolled over onto his side and drifted the rest of the way to sleep. As Morse slept for real, his dreams were of a similar theme, but they weren't so clean and easy. He found himself battling the same gray foes, sword in hand, but the weapon was heavy, and the handle so slick with sweat it was difficult to hold on. At times, he was the warrior, standing between Bella and the enemy, and at times it was Bella swinging a sword as he hid behind her. The rest of the dream was a jumble of images and ideas. The watermill burning, but nobody in town seeming to care. Morse struggling to hastily don the armor of a felled foe. Bella pacing across the green in a dozen different directions at once. Morse woke feeling far less refreshed than he would have liked. I think anyone would be able to tell she was different, just from one look. Even dressed in an outfit scrounged together from my limited wardrobe, Sydney radiates something special. The way she moves, the way her eyes sparkle. People born on Earth don't have eyes that faint purple color or hair that golden. Her skin doesn't literally glow, but at the same time it sort of does, you know? How are you doing? She asks, smiling softly. I'm not sure what to say. How am I in this moment? Today? How's my life in general? Fine, I say. I'm fine. How are you? Fine, she echoes. She looks around the room, taking it in, and I'm suddenly keenly aware of how messy it is. There are a dozen little things I've been meaning to get to, and I'm sure she notices every one of them. The pile of socks in the corner by the TV, the overflowing shopping bag full of random paper detritus. I could go on, but I won't. I'd rather not dwell on it. Suffice to say, it's the apartment of a single man who doesn't entertain very often. I wish I had somewhere nicer for her to stand. My eyes dart around the room, flicking between the WWE poster on the wall and the lilac-eyed alien princess standing in front of it. Sydney, I begin, not sure how the sentence is going to end. What are you doing here? Is what I want to ask, but that sounds so harsh. But before I can find out what I'm going to say, she breaks into a wide, tight-lipped smile and throws out her hands, pulling me into a hug. I'm stunned for a second, then wrap my arms around her, hugging her right back. We stand like that for a while, locked in a wordless embrace. It feels like it lasts hours and seconds at the same time. When we pull apart, I realize my eyes are wet I think hers are too. It's good to see you, she whispers. It's good to see you too. Tensions in Salem. In the medieval and early modern eras, many religions, including Christianity, taught that the devil could give people known as witches the power to harm others in return for their loyalty. A witchcraft craze rippled through Europe from the 1300s to the end of the 1600s. Tens of thousands of supposed witches, mostly women, were executed. Though the Salem trials took place just as the European craze was winding down, local circumstances explain their onset. In 1689, English monarchs William and Mary started a war with France in the American colonies. Known as King William's War to colonists, the conflict ravaged regions of upstate New York, Nova Scotia, and Quebec, sending refugees into the county of Essex, and, specifically, Salem Village, in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Salem Village is present-day Danvers, Massachusetts. Colonial Salem Town became what's now Salem. The displaced people placed a strain on Salem's resources, aggravating the existing rivalry between families with ties to the wealth of the Port of Salem and those who still depended on agriculture. Controversy also brewed over the Reverend Samuel Parris, who became Salem Village's first ordained minister in 1689 and quickly gained a reputation for his rigid ways and greedy nature. The Puritan villagers believed all the quarreling was the work of the devil. In January 1692, Parris's daughter Elizabeth, or Betty, age 9, and niece Abigail Williams, age 11, started having fits. They screamed, threw things, uttered peculiar sounds, and contorted themselves into strange positions. A local doctor blamed the supernatural. Another girl, 12-year-old Anne Putnam Jr., experienced similar episodes. On February 29th, under pressure from magistrates Jonathan Corwin and John Hawthorne, colonial officials who tried local cases, the girls blamed 3 women for afflicting them. Tituba, a Caribbean woman enslaved by the Parris family, Sarah Good, a homeless beggar, and Sarah Osborne, an elderly, impoverished woman.